Beneath twin moons that cast silver shadows over the broken spires of Zalthar, Luna moved like a ghost through the ruins. Her boots barely made a sound on the cracked stone, and her breath came slow and steady, trained by years of silence. She wasn't human, not truly. Her skin held a faint shimmer, like moonlight caught in water, and her eyes, large and gray, saw more than most. They saw the echoes of what once was, the whispers of old magic still clinging to the dust. Luna was the last of the Silthari, a people who once shaped stars with song and wove time from starlight. Now they were gone, vanished in a great silence no one understood. All that remained was her and her two small dragons. Ember clung to her left shoulder, a creature no bigger than a house cat, with scales that shifted from deep red to soft orange like a banked fire. He purred in low, rumbling tones only Luna could feel through her bones. Ripple, the other, drifted near her feet like living mist, sometimes solid, sometimes not, always watching. Ripple had no true form, but Luna knew her moods by the way the air shimmered around her. They had come to Zalthar chasing a signal. Not a radio wave or a distress call, but a hum. A frequency that matched the old lullabies her mother used to sing before the silence took her too. Luna had tracked it across 3 dead systems, following the faint pulse like a heartbeat in the dark. Now standing in the heart of the ruined observatory, she felt it stronger than ever. It came from the valley below, where the wind howled through canyons like a mourning spirit. The storm began without warning. One moment, the sky was clear, painted in hues of violet and indigo. The next, clouds boiled from nowhere, black and electric, crackling with energy that made Ember hiss and ripple, coiled tight around Luna's ankle. This was no natural tempest. It moved with purpose. It hunted. Luna pulled her cloak tighter and stepped to the edge of the cliff. Lightning split the sky, not white but deep violet, striking the valley floor in rhythmic pulses. And then through the rain and thunder she saw it. A ship, not falling, not crashing, but descending as if the storm bowed to it. Sleek, organic, shaped like a teardrop forged from obsidian and pearl, it landed softly in the crater below, silent despite the chaos around it. No fire, no smoke. Just stillness in the heart of the storm. Luna didn't wait. She leapt from the ruin, using old Silthari grace to glide down the slope, her feet barely touching the wet stone. Ember flared brighter on her shoulder, casting a warm glow in the downpour. Ripple dissolved into vapor, flowing ahead like a scout. By the time she reached the crater's edge, the ship's ramp had lowered. A soft golden light spilled out, cutting through the rain like a promise. She stepped inside. The air changed instantly, warm, dry, scented with something like night-blooming jasmine and ozone. The walls pulsed gently, lined with veins of bioluminescent blue that brightened as she moved. It felt alive. And in the center of the chamber stood a woman, tall, regal, with skin like polished onyx and eyes that held swirling galaxies. Her hair floated as if underwater, threaded with strands of liquid gold. She wore armor that looked grown rather than built, smooth, seamless, humming with quiet power. She turned as Luna entered, and her lips curved into a smile that held both sorrow and hope. "You came," the woman said, her voice low and rich like velvet over steel. Luna kept her hands loose at her sides, but Ember tensed, his scales flaring crimson. Ripple reformed at her feet, eyes glowing faint silver. "Who are you?" Luna asked, voice calm but guarded. "Princess Nyra of the Void Court," the woman replied, stepping forward. Her boots made no sound. "And you?" "Luna of the Silthari, the last singer." Luna's breath caught. No one had called her that in years, not since her people vanished. "How do you know my name?" "Your song echoes through the dark," Nyra said. "Even now, faint but true. I've searched 12 galaxies for you." Why? Nyra's gaze softened. "Because the Devourers are waking, and only a Silthari can awaken the dragons of creation." Luna glanced at Ember and Ripple. "These are my dragons. They're not weapons. They are more than pets," Nyra said gently. "They are fragments of the first fire, the primordial sparks that lit the universe. Your ancestors bound them to protect them from the Devourers, but the binding is weakening. If they fall into the wrong hands, or worse, if the Devourers consume them, the balance will shatter." Luna frowned. She'd always known her dragons were special, but she never imagined they were this important. Ember nuzzled her cheek as if sensing her doubt. "Why me?" she asked. "I'm just one person." "You are the last," Nyra said simply. "And sometimes one is enough." Before Luna could respond, the ship trembled. The walls dimmed, then flared crimson. The hum in the air turned sharp, urgent. Naira's expression hardened. They found us. Who the Devourers? Luna's blood ran cold. She'd heard the stories. Beings that fed on time, memory, light. They didn't destroy worlds. They erased them. As if they never existed, her people's silence. It made sense now. How many? 3 ships, Naira said, moving to a console that rose from the floor at her touch. Closing fast. Luna stepped beside her, peering at the holographic display. 3 black shapes drifted at the edge of the system, warping space around them like holes in reality. Can we run? Not fast enough, Naira said. But we don't have to. She turned to Luna, eyes intense. I need you to trust me. Luna hesitated. Trust was dangerous. Trust got people killed, or worse, forgotten. But then she looked at Ember, at Ripple, at the way they watched Naira, not with fear, but curiosity. As if they recognized something in her. What do you need me to do? Naira took her hand. Her skin was warm, humming with energy. Seeing Luna blinked. Now, the ship is attuned to harmonic resonance, Naira explained quickly. Your voice can power its defenses. Ember and Ripple will amplify you. Together you can weave a shield the Devourers can't pierce. Luna swallowed. She hadn't sung in years. Not since the last Silthari fell silent. Her voice felt rusty, small. But then she remembered her mother's words. Song is not sound. It is will. It is memory. It is hope. She nodded. Naira smiled, relief flickering in her star-filled eyes. Stand here. She guided Luna to the center of the chamber. Ember leapt from her shoulder, hovering in the air. Ripple rose too, swirling around them like a silver mist. Luna closed her eyes. She reached deep, not for words, but for feeling. For the ache of loss. The spark of defiance. The thread of light that still lived in her chest. And she sang. It started as a hum, low and soft. Then it grew, melodic, ancient, weaving through the air like roots through soil. Ember flared, his body becoming pure light. Ripple expanded, her form turning into a lattice of shimmering threads. The ship responded. The walls blazed with glyphs, Silthari script, glowing gold. The floor vibrated with power. Outside, the storm stilled. On the display, the Devourer ships slowed. They recoiled as if burned by something they couldn't see. Again, Naira urged, hands flying over the console. Stronger, Luna sang louder. The notes shaped the air, bending light, reinforcing space. A dome of harmonic energy bloomed around the ship. Visible only as a ripple in the rain, but strong enough to make the Devourers shriek in silent rage. One of them lunged. The impact shook the ship, but the shield held. Cracks spiderwebbed across the energy field, but Ember and Ripple surged forward, weaving new threads of song into the barrier. They're testing us, Naira said, voice tight. They'll keep coming. Luna's voice began to falter. Singing this way took more than breath. It took pieces of her soul. Naira saw it. She stepped close, placing a hand on Luna's back. Lean on me, she whispered. I'll hold you up. And somehow Luna believed her. She drew strength from Naira's presence, from the warmth, the certainty, the quiet power that didn't demand, only offered. Her song steadied, grew brighter. Outside, the Devourers circled, frustrated. They couldn't break through. Not yet. When the last note faded, the shield held firm. The storm broke. Clouds parted. Twin moons shone down on the silent crater. Luna sagged, exhausted. Naira caught her before she fell. You did it, Naira said softly. We did it, Luna corrected, leaning into her. Ember landed on her shoulder, purring weakly. Ripple curled around her wrist like a bracelet of mist. For a long moment, they stood in silence, breathing the same air, hearts beating in sync. They'll be back, Naira said finally. I know, Luna replied. Will you come with me? Luna looked at her. Really looked, saw the weight in Naira's eyes, the loneliness that mirrored her own, saw the offer not as a command but as a choice. Where would we go? To the heart of the Void Court, Naira said. To the Archive of Echoes. It holds the last records of your people, and the key to awakening the full power of the dragons. Luna thought of her mother's songs, of the empty halls where her kin once walked, of the silence that followed. Yes, she said. I'll go. Naira's smile returned, brighter this time. Then hold on. She tapped the console. The ramp sealed. The ship lifted smoothly from the crater, rising through the thinning clouds. As they broke orbit, Luna looked down at Zalthar. her last stop in a long journey of solitude. Now she wasn't alone. Ember nestled into her neck. Ripple hummed a soft tune against her skin. And beside her, Naira stood tall, one hand on the controls, the other brushing Luna's fingers. "This is only the beginning," Naira said. Luna nodded, watching stars bloom in the distance. "Then let's make it worth remembering." And as the ship vanished into the dark between worlds, two souls, one born of song, the other of silence, set course for a few. The ship cut through the void like a needle through dark silk, leaving Zalthar far behind. Inside, the air hummed with quiet energy. Luna sat near the observation window, watching stars blur into streaks of light. Ember dozed on her lap, warm and steady. Ripple floated near the ceiling, shifting between mist and form, tracing patterns only she could see. Naira stood at the control console, her fingers dancing over glowing panels. She glanced back often, as if making sure Luna was still there, as if afraid she might vanish like the rest of her kind. "How long until we reach the Void Court?" Luna asked. Voice soft. 3 days, Naira replied. "If the Devourers don't find us first," Luna nodded. She'd learned not to ask for promises. The universe rarely kept them. They spent the first day in silence, each lost in thought. Naira showed Luna how to read the ship's biosigns, how to speak to its core using harmonic tones. Luna, in turn, taught Naira fragments of Silthari lullabies, simple notes that calmed the ship's nervous system when it sensed danger. On the second day, Naira brought out a small crystal orb from a hidden compartment. It glowed faintly blue. "This is a memory shard," she said, placing it in Luna's hands. "It holds echoes of your people. I found it in the ruins of Elisera, your last city." Luna's breath caught. She'd heard of Elisera, the city of singing towers where every stone hummed a different note. She'd never seen it. She was too young when the silence came. She closed her eyes and pressed the shard to her forehead. Images flooded her mind. Tall spires of white crystal, ringing like bells in the wind. Crowds of Silthari walking barefoot on singing streets. Her mother standing on a balcony, arms raised to the twin suns, voice weaving a dawn song that made flowers bloom in midair. Then, screams. Not loud, but hollow. The kind that come after hope is gone. The sky turned black, not with clouds, but with absence. Stars blinked out one by one. Her mother turned, eyes wide with terror, and whispered, "Run, little star. Forget us if you must, but never stop singing." The memory ended. Luna opened her eyes, tears tracing silent paths down her cheeks. Ember nuzzled her hand. Ripple curled around her wrist like a comfort. "I'm sorry," Naira said gently. "Don't be," Luna whispered. "I needed to remember." That night she dreamed of fire and silence. She woke gasping, heart pounding. Naira was already beside her, a cup of warm starmint tea in hand. "Bad dream?" Naira asked. "A memory," Luna said, taking the cup. "They're the same now." Naira sat beside her. "Your people didn't just disappear. They were taken, erased. The Devourers don't kill. They unmake. But your song, it resists them. That's why they fear you." Luna looked at her. "Why do you fight them?" Naira was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "My world was the first they touched. I was a child. I hid in the royal vaults while the sky went dark. When I came out, there was nothing. No ruins, no bodies, just empty space where a planet used to be, as if it never existed." Her voice didn't shake, but her hands did. "I swore I'd find a way to make them remember," she continued, "to force the universe to hold on to what was lost. And when I heard whispers of the last Silthari, I knew you were the key." Luna reached out, covering Naira's hand with her own. "We'll make them remember." On the third day, the alarm sounded, not loud, but a low thrum that made the walls pulse red. Ripple shot to the ceiling, hissing. Ember flared bright on Luna's shoulder. "Devourers," Naira said, already at the console. On the view screen, 3 black shapes emerged from a fold in space. They didn't move like ships. They oozed, stretching and contracting like living voids. They tracked the memory shard, Naira realized. Its resonance gave us away. "Can we outrun them? Not this close to the court," Naira said grimly. "They've set a trap." Luna stood. "Then we fight." Naira turned, surprised. "You're still weak from the last song. I'm stronger with you," Luna said simply. Naira's eyes softened. She nodded. They moved to the center of the chamber. Naira activated the harmonic core. a ring of floating crystals that glowed in response to sound. Ember and Ripple took their places on either side, bodies pulsing with energy. "This time," Naira said, "we don't just shield, we strike." Luna understood. The Silthari didn't destroy, they unraveled. They returned things to their true form. She began to sing. Not a lullaby this time, but a reckoning. The notes were sharp, clear, cutting through the hum of the devourers like glass through fog. Ember shot forward, trailing fire that burned without heat. Ripple split into dozens of threads, weaving a net of silver light around the enemy ships. The lead devourer shrieked, a sound that wasn't sound, but a tear in reality itself. The ship shook. Cracks formed in the walls. "Hold the note," Naira urged, hands on the console, pouring her own energy into the system. Luna held. Her voice cracked, but she didn't stop. She thought of Elisara, of her mother's last words, of all the worlds erased into nothing, and she sang louder. The harmonic net tightened. The devourer ship began to fray, its edges unraveled like old cloth, revealing not metal or flesh but raw absence. A hole where something should have been. Then, with a final silent pop, it vanished. Not exploded. Not destroyed, unmade. The other two hesitated. "Now," Naira said. Luna changed the song. Lower, deeper, a grounding tone. Ember and Ripple merged their energies, creating a pulse that rippled outward. The remaining devourers recoiled. They folded back into the void, retreating. Silence returned. Luna collapsed to her knees, gasping. Naira caught her, holding her close. "You did it," Naira whispered. "We did," Luna breathed. They drifted for hours, letting the ship heal. The stars outside seemed brighter now, as if grateful. When they finally arrived at the Void Court, it was nothing like Luna expected. Not a fortress or a palace, but a floating garden of memory. Crystal trees grew from platforms of black stone, their leaves made of frozen light. Rivers of liquid starlight wound through the air, carrying whispers of lost voices. Buildings rose like sculptures of sorrow and hope, shaped by grief and remembrance. "This is where we keep what the devourers try to erase," Naira explained as they stepped onto the main platform. Every name, every song, every moment. Luna saw names glowing in the air, entire civilizations preserved in light. She recognized some, her people's names among them. Her heart ached. They were led to the Archive of Echoes, a dome of living glass that pulsed with soft blue light. Inside, thousands of memory shards floated like fireflies. "The key to awakening the dragons is here," Naira said, "but only a Silthari can unlock it." Luna walked to the center. The air grew thick with song, old, powerful, waiting. She closed her eyes and sang a single note. The shards responded. They swirled around her, forming a spiral of light. Ember and Ripple rose into the air. Drawn to the center, a new shard formed, clear, bright, humming with potential. Luna reached for it, as her fingers touched the crystal. Knowledge flooded her, not just memories, but purpose. The dragons of creation weren't just protectors, they were seeds. Each one held the blueprint of a new universe. The Silthari didn't just sing to defend, they sang to begin. "What do you see?" Naira asked, watching her with awe. "A choice," Luna said. "We can keep hiding, or we can create something the devourers can't erase." Naira smiled. "Then let's create." They spent the next days preparing. Luna studied the archives, learning the full songs of her ancestors. Naira gathered allies, scattered survivors from erased worlds, warriors who remembered what was lost. Ember and Ripple grew stronger, their forms shifting, expanding. They were no longer just companions. They were conduits. On the seventh night, Luna stood on the highest platform of the Void Court, facing the endless dark where the devourers waited. Naira stood beside her, hand in hand. "Ready?" Naira asked. Luna looked at the stars, at the garden of memory, at the faces of those who refused to be forgotten. "Yes." She began to sing, not a song of war, not a song of fear, a song of beginning. Ember and Ripple soared into the sky, their bodies blazing with light. The memory shards rose with them, weaving a tapestry of sound and light across the void. And from that song, something new stirred. A single point of light, bright and pure, bloomed in the darkness. A new star, the first of many. The devourers came, drawn by the birth cry of creation, But this time, they did not attack. They watched. And for the first time in eternity, they hesitated, because what was born could not be unmade. It could only grow. Luna kept singing. Nyra stood with her, a queen of memory beside a singer of stars, and in the heart of the void, hope took root. The new star pulsed softly in the dark, a heartbeat of light where none had been before. Around it, threads of song still shimmered, Luna's voice echoing through space like roots finding soil. Ember and Ripple circled the newborn sun, their forms now larger, brighter, woven with strands of creation itself. They were no longer just dragons. They were guardians of dawn. On the platform of the void court, Luna lowered her arms, breath coming in slow waves. Her throat ached, but her spirit burned steady. Beside her, Nyra watched the star with eyes full of wonder. "It's real," Nyra whispered. "It always was," Luna replied. "We just had to remember how to call it." The survivors gathered below. Men and women from worlds long erased lifted their faces to the light. Some wept. Others sang in broken voices, joining the fading notes of Luna's song. The air hummed with something new. Not just memory, but possibility. But the peace did not last. Deep in the folds of space, the Devourers gathered again. Not 3 this time, but dozens. They did not attack. They waited, watching, learning. Nyra felt it first, a cold pressure against her mind, like fingers trying to pry open a locked door. "They're changing," she said, turning to Luna. "They've never seen creation before. Only destruction. This confuses them." "Good," Luna said. "Let them be confused." But she knew it wouldn't last. The Devourers fed on absence, and creation was the opposite of absence. It was a threat. Over the next few days, Luna and Nyra worked without rest. They taught the survivors fragments of Silthari song, simple harmonies that could shield a mind, light a path, or mend a broken memory. Ember and Ripple guided them, their presence calming the fearful, strengthening the weak. Luna also studied the memory shards more deeply. In one, she found a hidden truth. The Silthari had not just vanished. They had chosen to fade, to become part of the song itself. Their bodies turned to stardust, their voices woven into the fabric of space. They were not gone. They were waiting. "They're still here," Luna told Nyra one evening as they sat beneath the new star, in the silence between notes. In the light between stars, Nyra leaned her head on Luna's shoulder. "Then we're not alone." "Never were," Luna said softly. On the 5th day, the first colony ship arrived. It was small, patched together from salvage, carrying 200 souls from a world the Devourers had nearly erased. They called themselves the Remnant. Their leader, a woman named Claire, stepped onto the platform with tears in her eyes. "We saw the light," she said, voice trembling. "We thought it was a dream. But it pulled us here." Luna welcomed them. She sang a short blessing over their ship, and Ember landed on Claire's outstretched hand, purring like a contented son. More ships came after that. From hidden corners of the galaxy, survivors answered the call of the new star. The void court grew from a garden of memory into a cradle of hope. But with growth came danger. One night, as Luna walked the crystal paths, Ripple suddenly hissed and vanished into mist. Ember flared red on her shoulder. A figure stepped from the shadows, not a devourer, but a man in tattered royal armor, his face gaunt, eyes hollow. "You're wasting your power," he said, voice rough with disuse. Luna stayed calm. "Who are you, Prince Dane of Viril?" he said, last heir of a dead throne. I watched my world blink out. I've been hiding in the rifts ever since. "Then join us," Luna said. "Join you in singing lullabies while the Devourers grow stronger." He spat. "I've seen what they can do. Songs won't stop them. Only fire will." "Fire is part of the song," Luna replied. "But so is mercy. So is memory." Dane laughed, a bitter sound. "You're a child playing with stars." Before she could answer, Nyra appeared, flanked by 2 guards. "You're not welcome here if you bring only fear," she told Dane. He glared at them both, then turned and walked away, vanishing into the dark. "He'll cause trouble," Nyra said. "Or he'll find his way back," Luna said. "Everyone does if the light is bright enough." 2 days later, Dane returned with a plan. He'd found an old weapon buried in the ruins of a dead forge world. A resonance cannon, built by a race that once fought the Devourers. It could shatter a Devourer's form if aimed true. "Use your song to power it," he urged. "We strike first. We end this." Luna hesitated. The idea felt wrong. The Silthari never destroyed. They transformed, but Naira looked troubled. What if he's right, she asked later, alone with Luna. What if defense isn't enough anymore? Creation is stronger than destruction, Luna said. But maybe we need both. They agreed to test the cannon. Deep in the Forge World's ruins, they found the weapon, a massive arch of black metal, humming with dormant power. Dane showed them how to activate it. All it needed was a harmonic source. Luna stepped forward. Ember and Ripple flanked her. She sang. The cannon woke with a roar of light. Energy coiled around its frame, building to a point. Aim it at the nearest devourer, Dane said eagerly. But Luna shook her head. Not yet. She changed her song, softer, questioning. The cannon's energy shifted, not to destroy but to reveal. On the view screen, the nearest devourer appeared, not as a void, but as a twisted knot of pain. Trapped inside were flickers of faces, voices, worlds. They're not just eating, Luna realized, horrified. They're holding everything they've taken. Like a prison, the devourers weren't mindless. They were full. Bloated with stolen time, unable to release what they'd consumed. Then we don't kill them, Luna said. We free what's inside. Dane stared. You're mad. Maybe, Luna said. But it's the only way that heals. Back at the Void Court, they prepared for the real work. Luna taught the survivors a new song. Not of war, not of hiding, but of release. A melody that could untie the knots in the devourers gently, like opening a clenched fist. Naira coordinated the ships. Claire organized the singers. Even Dane stayed watching from the edge, arms crossed, but listening. When the time came, they flew not to fight, but to heal. The fleet gathered near the largest devourer, a vast, swirling mass that blotted out a whole star cluster. It pulsed with trapped light. Luna stood on the command deck, Naira beside her. Ember and Ripple hovered before the viewport. Ready? Are you sure? Naira asked. I've never been more sure, Luna said. She began to sing. The fleet joined her. Hundreds of voices, trained in the simple harmony she'd taught them. The resonance cannon, now repurposed, amplified the song into a beam of pure compassion. The devourer shuddered. At first, it fought back, sending waves of silence that made ships flicker, as if they might vanish. But Luna held the note, and then something beautiful happened. A single point of light broke free from the devourer's edge, then another, and another. Worlds returned, not whole, not perfect, but remembered. A blue planet with silver oceans reappeared, spinning slowly. A city of glass towers blinked into existence. A forest of singing trees stretched toward a sun it hadn't seen in centuries. The devourer shrank as it released its prisoners, not destroyed, emptied. And in its emptiness it changed. It became still. Quiet. Not a monster, but a vessel that had served its purpose. When the last light escaped, the devourer dissolved not into nothing, but into stardust. Gentle. Peaceful. Silence fell over the fleet. Then, cheers erupted. On the command deck, Dane dropped to his knees, weeping. My home, he whispered, watching a small green world stabilize in the distance. Luna turned to Naira. Tears glistened in both their eyes. We did it, Naira said. We gave them back, Luna replied. In the days that followed, the freed world sent thanks. Survivors reunited with lost families. Memories returned like rain after drought. The new star grew brighter, feeding on the joy of return. Luna and Naira stood together every night watching the sky heal. One evening, as Ember curled around Luna's wrist and Ripple napped in a pool of moonlight, Naira took Luna's hand. Stay with me, she said, not just as a singer, as my partner, my equal, my heart. Luna looked at her, the woman who carried memory like a crown, who fought the dark, not with weapons, but with remembrance. I already am, Luna said, and under the twin moons of a reborn galaxy, they kissed not as princess and last elf, but as two souls who had found each other in the silence, and chosen to sing together. Far away, the remaining devourers watched, but they did not come. For the first time they understood, some things cannot be unmade. Love, memory, song, and hope, once lit, never truly goes out. Weeks passed under the glow of the newborn star. And the void court bloomed like a flower opening after a long winter. Ships came daily now. Not just survivors, but builders, teachers, dreamers. They raised homes from crystal and song, planted gardens that grew in starlight, and taught their children the harmonies Luna had shared. Ember and Ripple flew among them, no longer just pets, but symbols of what was possible. Small things that could change the shape of the universe. Luna and Naira walked the paths together each morning. They spoke little, but their silence was full. Sometimes Naira would hum a note, and Luna would answer with a chord. The air around them would shimmer, and a new flower might bloom where none had been before. But peace, even the gentle kind, is never without shadow. One night, Ripple vanished without warning. Not into mist, not to scout, but truly gone. Her presence, usually a soft hum in Luna's bones, simply stopped. Luna froze in the middle of the garden. "She's not here," she whispered. Naira felt it too. The air felt thinner, colder. "Where would she go? Nowhere on her own," Luna said, fear tightening her chest. Something took her. They searched the court, then the nearby orbits. Nothing, no signal, no trace. Ember paced restlessly on Luna's shoulder. His usual warmth dimmed. Then a message came. Not through comms, not through light, but through song. A single broken note echoed in Luna's mind. Ripple's voice. Faint, strained, but clear. "Help, the edge." "The edge of what?" Naira asked. Luna closed her eyes. "The edge of everything. The place where the Devourers were born." Naira went pale. "The Null Rim. No one goes there. Not even the Devourers stay long." "Ripple's there," Luna said. "And if she's calling, something worse than the Devourers has woken." They prepared quickly. The resonance cannon was refitted for travel. Claire volunteered to lead the defense of the court. Dane, now a trusted advisor, offered his knowledge of old rift paths. "Be careful," he told Luna, gripping her arm. "The Null Rim isn't empty. It's hungry." Their ship, now named First Light, slipped from the court under cover of dawn. Ember stayed close to Luna, his glow steady but quiet. Without Ripple, the air felt unbalanced, like a song missing its harmony. As they neared the Null Rim, stars began to fade. Not vanish, just dim as if ashamed to shine. Space itself grew still. No cosmic wind, no background hum. Only silence. Then they saw it, a tear in reality, not a hole, not a storm, but a perfect circle of nothing. No light escaped it, no sound. It simply was. And floating before it, tethered by threads of dark energy, was Ripple. She was changed. Her misty form was frayed, her silver glow dulled to gray. She struggled weakly against the threads, but they held fast. "What is that thing?" Naira whispered, staring at the circle. "Not a devourer," Luna said. "Older. The silence before the first note. The void that existed before creation. The ancients called it the mute heart. It didn't consume, it prevented. It stopped songs before they began, erased thoughts before they formed. It was why some worlds went quiet without a trace, not taken but never allowed to be. Ripple had flown too close, drawn by a faint echo only she could hear. And the mute heart had caught her. "We can't fight it," Naira said. "It's not alive. Its absence given shape." "Then we don't fight," Luna said. "We remind it." She stepped to the harmonic core. Ember leapt to the central crystal, pressing his body against it. His fire flared, not red, but white gold. Luna took a deep breath and began to sing, not a loud song, not a battle cry, a lullaby, the first one her mother ever sang to her. Simple, soft, full of love. The notes drifted toward the mute heart. At first, nothing happened. The circle remained. Ripple sagged. But then, a flicker. A single point of light appeared on the edge of the circle. Then another, tiny, fragile, but real. The mute heart trembled. It had never heard a lullaby. It knew only silence, but song. Song was older than even it. Luna kept singing. Naira joined her, not with voice, but with memory, projecting images of the court, of children laughing, of the new star rising. The ship's systems translated her thoughts into harmonic pulses. Ember burned brighter. The threads holding Ripple began to fray. The mute heart pulsed. Once, twice, like a heart remembering how to beat, and then it did something no one expected. It opened, not to swallow, but to release from its center port a flood of lost songs, fragments of voices, half-formed worlds, dreams that never had a chance to be. They swirled around Ripple, healing her, Strengthening her, she broke free. With a cry of silver light, she shot back to the ship, wrapping herself around Luna like a child returning home. But the mute heart did not close. Instead, it shrank, softened, became not a tear but a seed. Luna understood. It wasn't evil. It was lonely. She changed her song again, this time an invitation. The seed drifted toward the ship. Gently, Luna reached out through the viewport with her mind and her melody. The seed touched the hull and sank in. The ship glowed, not with fire, but with potential. "What did you do?" Naira asked, awed. "I gave it a home," Luna said. "Now it can learn to sing." On the journey back, the first light felt different, warmer, alive in a new way. The mute heart, now quiet, sleeping in the ship's core, began to dream. And in its dreams, new stars flickered to life in distant corners of the galaxy. When they returned, the court cheered. Ripple was whole again, her glow brighter than ever. Ember nuzzled her constantly, as if making sure she was real. But Luna knew their work wasn't done. The mute heart had been the source of the great silence, the reason her people vanished. They hadn't been taken. They'd been silenced before they could sing their final song. Now, she could bring them back with Naira's help. She built a new chamber in the heart of the court, a sanctuary of resonance, lined with memory shards and living crystal. In its center, she placed a single note, held in a sphere of light. Then she sang the Silthari return chant. It was the most complex song she'd ever attempted. It wove past, present, and future into one thread. It called not just to bodies, but to echoes, to dust, to stardust. The sky above the court darkened, not with storm, but with falling light. Figures appeared in the air, faint at first like smoke, then clearer. Silthari, hundreds of them. Her mother among them. They didn't speak. They simply smiled, reached out and touched the earth. Their forms solidified, not as they were, but as they could be. Renewed, whole, carrying the wisdom of silence and the joy of return. Luna ran to her mother. They held each other, weeping not from sorrow but from wonder. "You never stopped singing," her mother whispered. "So we never truly left." The court celebrated for days. The returned Silthari taught new songs. The survivors shared their stories. Even the freed world sent envoys bearing gifts of light and gratitude. But Luna noticed something. Naira stood apart sometimes, watching, smiling, but quiet. One evening, Luna found her on the highest balcony looking at the stars. "You're thinking," Luna said, joining her. "I am," Naira admitted. "For so long my purpose was to remember, to fight the silence. But now, silence is healing. Memory is returning. What do I do now?" Luna took her hand. "You keep remembering. But now you also get to live." Naira looked at her, eyes full of questions. "Can a keeper of memory also be happy?" "Only if she lets herself," Luna said softly. They stood in silence for a long time, hands clasped, hearts in tune. The next morning, Luna announced a new plan. The Silthari would not rebuild Elisera. They would build something new, a school of song open to all, where humans, Void Court survivors, even former Devourer prisoners could learn to shape reality with harmony, not force. Naira would lead it with her, not as a princess, not as a warrior, but as a teacher. As they stood before the gathered crowd, Luna took Naira's hand and raised it high. "This is not an end," she said. "It's a beginning sung together." Cheers rose like a wave of light. In the weeks that followed, the school rose from the earth like a living thing. Crystal towers grew at the sound of children's laughter. Gardens bloomed when students practiced their first notes. Ember and Ripple became beloved guides, teaching the young ones how to listen, not just with ears, but with soul. One afternoon, as Luna walked the halls, she found Naira in the central chamber, humming softly to a group of children. They sat in a circle, eyes closed, hands on the floor, feeling the song of the world beneath them. Luna watched, heart full. Later, as the twin moons rose, they sat on the roof sharing quiet tea. "Do you think it will last?" Naira asked. "Not if we stop singing," Luna said. "But as long as one voice remains, the song continues." Naira leaned her head on Luna's shoulder. Ember curled around Luna's wrist. Ripple floated above them, weaving silver patterns in the moonlight far away. The mute heart, now called the first seed, dreamed peacefully in the ship's core, its dreams giving birth to new stars. And in the heart of the galaxy, two women who once stood alone now stood together, not as legends, but as living proof that even the deepest silence can be broken by a single, brave note. The end was never the end. It was just the pause before the next verse. Months had passed since the School of Song rose from the heart of the Void Court, and its halls now echoed with 1,000 voices. Children of all kinds, human, Siltheri, remnant survivors, even those born from freed devourer prisons, learned to shape light with lullabies and mend broken stars with harmony. Luna walked the corridors daily, not as a ruler but as a guide. She listened more than she spoke, letting the young ones find their own notes. Nira taught the history of memory, how to hold a moment in song so it could never be lost. She showed students how to weave names into the wind so no one would vanish without a trace. Her lessons were quiet but powerful, and every evening, she and Luna met on the garden terrace, where Ember and Ripple waited, glowing softly in the twilight. But peace, even when earned, is never the final word. One morning, a ship arrived unlike any before. It was small, made of woven vines and living wood, its hull humming with green light. No weapons, no armor. Just a single figure standing on the deck, a woman with bark-like skin and eyes like deep forest pools. She stepped onto the platform without fear. "I am Willow," she said, voice like rustling leaves. "I come from the root worlds far beyond the rim. We felt your song. It woke something in the deep earth." Luna stepped forward. "What did it wake, the old sleepers?" Willow replied. "Beings older than stars. They stir now, not in anger, but in hunger. Not for light or memory, but for silence." Naira frowned. "More silence, not the silence of erasure," Willow explained. "The silence of rest. They believe creation has grown too loud, too chaotic. They wish to return all things to stillness." Luna exchanged a look with Naira. This was different. The devourers consumed, the mute heart prevented, but these beings wanted to end the song entirely, not out of malice but weariness. "Why come to us?" Luna asked. "Because your song is the first in eons that carries both joy and sorrow," Willow said. "They will listen to you. If anyone can speak to them, it is you." Luna agreed to go. Naira insisted on coming too. "You're not facing ancient sleepers alone," she said firmly. They left Ember and Ripple in charge of the school, with Luna's mother as headmistress. The two dragons protested at first, but Luna kissed their foreheads and whispered, "Guard the next song. We'll bring back the first." Their journey took them beyond the known stars, into a region where space grew thick and slow, like honey. Here time moved differently. A minute could feel like a year. A thought could take root and bloom before it was finished. The root worlds were not planets but living networks, vast interconnected trees that floated in the void, their roots stretching between dimensions. Light filtered through leaves the size of cities. Rivers of sap carried memories instead of water. In the heart of the largest tree they found the sleepers. 3 beings, seated in a circle, eyes closed, hands resting on roots that pulsed with slow, deep rhythm. They were not human, not Silthari, not machine. They were the first listeners, the ones who heard the universe's first breath and chose to rest after. "You have come to argue," one said, without opening his eyes. His voice was the sound of mountains shifting. "We've come to understand," Luna replied. "Understanding is noise," another murmured. "We seek quiet. But quiet without song is death," Naira said gently. The third sleeper opened her eyes. They held no galaxies, no fire, only calm, endless calm. "Death is not bad. It is balance. Creation grows unchecked, stars burn too bright, voices shout too loud. The universe forgets how to rest." Luna sat before them. What if rest and song can exist together? The sleepers were silent. She began to sing. Not a grand anthem. Not a battle hymn. A simple melody. The song of a single leaf falling, of a river slowing at dusk, of breath between heartbeats. A song of pause, not end. Ember's fire, carried in her voice, glowed warm but soft. Naira's memories wove through the notes. Images of quiet moments, a child sleeping, a star dimming gently, a tear drying in peace. The sleepers listened for the first time in eons. They truly listened. The first one sighed, a sound like wind through ancient pines. "This is not noise. It's stillness with heart," the second said. The third reached out. "Show us more." So Luna stayed. For days she sang the quiet songs, the ones no one else valued. The song of waiting, of healing, of letting go without forgetting. Naira sat beside her, adding silence where needed, showing that rest could be part of the music. Slowly, the sleepers changed. Their forms softened. Their roots began to hum in harmony, and from their stillness new seeds formed, tiny, dark, but full of potential. "We will not stop the song," the first sleeper said at last, "but we will teach it to breathe." They gifted Luna 3 seeds. "Plant them where the song grows too loud. They will remind creation how to rest." Luna accepted them with gratitude. As they prepared to leave, Willow met them at the edge of the root world. "You did what no army could," she said. "We didn't fight," Luna said. "We listened." Back at the Void Court, the school welcomed them with light and song. Ember and Ripple rushed to them, nuzzling and purring. The students had learned well in their absence. New harmonies filled the air, gentle and strong. Luna planted the first seed in the center of the garden. It sank into the soil and bloomed instantly into a tree with silver leaves that chimed softly in the breeze. When students grew too excited, too loud, they would sit beneath it and find calm. The second seed she gave to Claire to plant on the first reborn world. The third she sent with Diane to the Edge colonies, as a reminder that even frontiers need peace. Life returned to its rhythm, but deeper now, richer. One evening, as Luna and Naira walked the garden path, Nira stopped beneath the new tree. "I've been thinking," she said. "About what?" "About us. About forever." Luna turned to her. "Forever is a long song, but worth singing," Naira said. She took Luna's hands. "I don't just want to remember the past with you. I want to build the future. A real home. Not just a court or a school, but a life." Luna's eyes filled with tears. "I've never had a home. Not since Elisara." "Then let's make one," Naira whispered. Together. They built it on a quiet hill overlooking the school. A small house of living wood and singing stone. Ember claimed the hearth. Ripple wove the curtains from mist and moonlight. Luna's mother blessed the threshold with an old silvery verse. Claire brought flowers that bloomed in starlight. Dane carved their names into the doorframe, not in letters, but in musical notes. On the night they moved in, the twin moons aligned, casting a single beam of silver light through the window. They stood in the center of the room, hands clasped. No grand words, no ceremony. Just two souls choosing to share a quiet life after so much storm. In the weeks that followed, they woke to bird song and embers purr. They taught in the mornings, walked the gardens in the afternoons, and sang soft duets under the stars at night. Sometimes students would come to the hill, not to ask for lessons, but just to sit in the peace they created. One day a young girl, barely 10, with wide eyes and a voice like clear water, asked Luna, "Will the song ever end?" Luna knelt before her. "Only if we stop singing." "But what if I'm scared my voice isn't strong enough?" "Then sing softly," Luna said, smiling. "Even a whisper can wake a star." That night, as she lay beside Naira, listening to the gentle hum of the house and the distant songs of the school, Luna felt something she hadn't felt since childhood. Not hope, not courage. Belonging. She was home. Far away, the mute heart dreamed on, its dreams now filled with trees and quiet rivers. The sleepers rested, but their roots hummed with new songs. The devourers, empty and changed, drifted as gentle clouds, reflecting starlight instead of swallowing it. And in the heart of it all, two women, one born of starlight, the other of memory, lived not as heroes but as proof that love, like song, only grows stronger when shared. The universe was no longer silent. It was learning to breathe. And in that breath, everything began again.